Hi there, Alex here at mixinglessons.com. In this video, we're going to talk about the differences between multi-track recording and live recording. And we'll talk about some of the practical implications of each of those and some of the, shall we say, stylistic implications of recording via one of those two different routes. I'll also give you a third option, which I think can be really useful for people, particularly people recording in home studios, but it's something that I don't often see many people advise or talk about. Before we get started, if you're interested in recording and mixing music, I've got 3 PDF guides that I think you'll find really useful. I've got an EQ cheat sheet, a compression cheat sheet, and a vocal recording guide. You can get all 3 of those by heading over to mixinglessons.com/free-downloads. Okay, so broadly speaking, we can separate the way we record into 2 different versions, if you like. There's live recording, which is where a band all plays together and you mic everything and you capture that live performance. And then you've got multi-track recording, and that's where often in modern day production, you would start with a click track, the drummer would come and record their parts, then you would layer the bass guitar on top of that, then the guitars, then the vocals and so on, and you would build each part of your mix separately, so each instrument would be recorded one by one. Now, each of these methods have their benefits. To some extent, each have drawbacks, and the kind of recording that you'll get differs a little bit depending on which route you take. So let's talk about some of the practical benefits of multi-track recording. First and foremost, you might have people who are going to record at different times. So it might not be convenient for the whole band to show up to your studio at the same time and do these live recordings. You might want to record things at different times. You might want to record things in different places. So it wouldn't be uncommon for the drums to be recorded at one studio and then the bass or guitars to be recorded at a different studio or somebody else's house or perhaps in a different country and then sent to you and you piece everything together in your session. So it gives you that flexibility in terms of time and location. Another sort of practical benefit to multi-track recording is that you don't have to have the amount of equipment that you would need to record a full band live. So if you were going to record a band and you wanted to do everything live, you're probably going to need upwards of 16 inputs on your audio interface. You might have 8 for drums, 1 or 2 for the bass, 1 or 2 for each guitar, 2, 3, 4 for the vocals. And so if you record multi-track, you don't need that many inputs. You don't need that many microphones. You don't need to be able to mic everything at the same time. You might just have, let's say, an 8-channel interface, a small collection of microphones, and you can use that same equipment for each instrument as you layer the tracks one on top of the other. So in a practical sense, you get flexibility in terms of when things are recorded or where things are recorded, and you don't need to own as much equipment to capture these recordings. Now, aside from these sort of practical implications of multi-track recording, it's also worth thinking about what kind of recording you get when you multi-track. Generally, if you're multi-tracking and you're recording to a click track, the recording that you get will generally be very tight. Now, obviously, that does depend on playing in time with the click track and working well with click tracks, or the people that you record being able to play well with click tracks. But generally, you get a tight performance. That's not to say that you don't get a tight performance with live recording, but one option that a multi-track recording would give you if you've recorded to a click track would be that you have this kind of map, this grid, where you can edit the recordings a little bit if you need to, pull them in line a little bit more with the click track. And so you can get this very, very tight recording. Something else that method would give you would be consistency. So if you were working with a click track, then generally the tempo of the song is going to be consistent throughout. Of course, you can automate a click track, so you can make a click track get a little bit faster in the choruses and then slow down again in the verses and things like that. But generally, you're going to have consistency in your recordings. So those are just a few of the implications of multi-track recording. Now let's talk about the implications of live recording. So as I say, with a live recording, you're going to have a band or a duo or a solo artist, whatever it may be, and you're going to capture every instrument all at once. So they're going to perform live and you're going to capture that performance, each instrument at the same time. Now, for a lot of people, they feel that a live recording can feel more human or more natural. So the performance will have perhaps a natural flow to it. The song may finish a little faster than it started, for example. You're going to have this kind of human, natural element to the performance, which you can maybe lose a little bit if you're working with a click track. There are also people who feel that they give a better performance when they perform live. So there is a difference between multi-tracking, just listening on headphones to the drums or the bass or whatever's already been recorded and then recording your guitar part on top of that, versus the kind of performance that you maybe give if there's a group of you and you're all playing together. A lot of people feel that performing in a group is how they give their best take. But obviously, in practical terms, you're going to need more equipment. You're going to need a space where you can record a full band all at once. You're probably going to need some means of giving everybody a monitor feed. So there's a little bit more involved in doing a live recording, you could say. There are also some elements that you need to factor into live recording that you don't need to think about with multi-tracking. One of those would be the fact that if you've got a band all playing together, there could be some spill from one mic to the next. So what I mean by that is if you have everybody playing in one space, you're probably going to get some bleed from the drum kit onto the vocal mic, for example. Now, obviously, if you're able to, you could use a recording studio where there are isolation booths, and that would kind of eliminate this problem a little bit because you would be isolated from one another. But if we're recording in a sort of a home studio or a project studio kind of environment, then factoring in things like spill and bleed from one instrument to another is something that you're going to have to sort of factor in. So broadly speaking, these are your two options. You've got the live recording and the multi-track recording. I don't think that one is necessarily better than the other. It just depends how you like to work, and it depends what you're looking to get out of the recording, or perhaps the practical implications will make one more suitable to you than the other. But there is a third option, and it's something that I don't see many people talk about or many people advise to other people who are recording music. And this method is actually probably a little bit closer to how multi-track recording actually originated. And that would be to record some of the instruments live, but not all of them. So if we think about needing a lot of equipment to be able to record a full band, let's say you have an 8-channel interface, so you have 8 inputs. You could have the band play live and record drums, bass, and perhaps the rhythm guitar all at once. So the band would be playing live, you would get the benefit of that live performance and perhaps the energy of a live performance of a group of people playing in a room together. But you would only be capturing the drums, bass, and as I say, maybe the rhythm guitar. And then later on, you could overdub lead guitars and vocals. And so in that instance, you're not going to have to worry about spill on the vocal mic from the drums or the other instruments. You get the benefits of a live recording, so that kind of human, natural performance. And you can do it without having all of the equipment that you would need to do everything live. So it doesn't have to be necessarily all one or the other. It doesn't have to be that your multi-track recording is going to consist of using a click track and recording each instrument one by one. And you also don't have to go all the way to the other end and do an entirely live recording. You can kind of come somewhere in the middle where generally your rhythm section is tracked live and then you overdub the other guitars and the vocals on top. And I think that's a really useful way of working for a lot of people in home studios, and certainly a lot of people who are new to recording who are maybe not so comfortable with the idea of working with a click track, for example. So 3 different options. Each have benefits, each have drawbacks to some extent, but it's a case of finding what works best for you. So I hope you found that interesting. I'd also love to know how you record, whether you multi-track or whether you do things live or whether you go somewhere in the middle, somewhere between the two. Please feel free to leave me a comment and let me know. Don't forget to get that free EQ cheat sheet, that free compression cheat sheet, and that free vocal recording guide at mixinglessons.com/free-downloads. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.